and welcome to Service Desk Plus. My name is Hannah, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to the second season of the Masterclass series. And this is the second episode. And in this episode, as you are all already aware, we will be talking about the service management that you can do by using Service Desk Plus. So before we go into the session, I hope all of you are keeping safe as the pandemic is raging and is showing no signs of abating anytime in the future. I do hope all of you are staying safe and taking all the adequate measures to keep yourselves safe. As we move into another year of the pandemic, this time we decided we will have this masterclass series slightly differently. So, in that, during the course of our conversations, we thought we will do hacks. And that's how we did the last one on incident management. We did a few hacks for incident management. So this time we thought we will do some few hacks for service management. Only that in this, the difference that we tried to do was we thought we will look at one big service management process, such as onboarding. We thought we will look at the onboarding process, and under the onboarding process, what are the 5 hacks or the 5 steps that you can do to present or to implement a robust service management in your organization. So as we go through the slides, you will realize that we are talking 5 hacks, but all of them are essentially steps to implement a very good and effective onboarding process. So this will be the 5 hacks that we will discuss. We will see how you can define specific portals for specific users. How do you build a detailed self-service portal, and how you customize the self-service catalog. And then we will go into discussing the knowledge base, how you can build and manage a useful knowledge base, and then very briefly touch upon integration with other ManageEngine products and how that comes handy while you are doing an onboarding process. So now let's go to Zilker. Zilker is an IT company like ours, um, very much like Service Desk Plus, where most of the employees are working from home due to the pandemic. And now, as the pandemic moves on to the second year, we have come to work with the pandemic as if it were the new normal for us. So we have to continue business as usual. So one of the important aspects of running a business is hiring people. So as we hire more and more people across the world, across the globe, we have to find ways to make the entire process problem free, right? So, and also implement an efficient process. So how are we going to do this is forms the bulk of this masterclass today. So the entire hiring is going to be done remotely. So when an onboarding process is happening, it could be in any company for that matter. So this is basically the schema that any company will follow while onboarding its people. So which means that every time a new hire comes in, there's a new hire request coming in, you have multiple departments working at the same time. So there's an HR department doing their hiring process, doing their personnel management. Then there is your IT, your legal, your facilities, your payroll. All these people are doing their own specific tasks, and each of them has a specific function attached to them, and each function has very clear tasks, and each of these tasks are probably assigned to different technicians to take care. So what is important to note here are the different departments, and each department having a specific set of activities. Okay. So in Service Desk Plus, if you were to take Service Desk Plus, how is this onboarding process accomplished? So what happens is that there's a hiring manager who will just go and hire a request. So there's a portal where the hiring manager can easily raise a request. And then as the request goes to the service desk, uh, Service Desk Plus offers you the opportunity to create such clear, such forms that elicit all the information that you need to fulfill your service request efficiently and to the best of your and also meet your customer requirements to the T. And then after that, of course, after you gather all the information, you'll have to route it and assign it to the right technicians, which again will be followed by an approval process, because we are talking about service requests. What if somebody wants a Mac, or what if somebody wants a software which is very expensive? So naturally, you will need to have approvals. In some cases, even multiple levels of approvals might be necessary. And then, as we saw, the tasks. Each job function has specific tasks, right? They have to be either automatically triggered or will have to be manually triggered, and then of course followed by a stringent process that keeps the time and the quality of the service management in place, right? So there are also SLAs and other notifications that are sent to the end users on time. So this is the onboarding process that we are going to see. So before we move on to the application, before I show you the application, I'm just going to briefly dwell with the first two hacks, the defining the specific portals for specific users and to build a detailed self-service portal. So what are the features that we are going to be looking at? We are going to be looking at how you can create various instances for the various departments. Now we saw the various departments that were there, and then which are the instances that can be easily accessed from the self-service portal by your end user. And of course, how you can build a detailed self-service portal in which you're able to track your requests, your solutions, your announcements. And these are merely features which I will be showing to you in a minute. Okay, bear with me. I'm just going to share with you the application screen. Um, so those of you who are familiar with Service Desk Plus, this may not be a new interface. This is how Service Desk Plus looks. For those of you who are seeing it for the first time, this is how Service Desk Plus looks as soon as you sign in as the admin. Now we were talking about the different portals or the different departments. How was that available in Service Desk Plus? I'm just going to show you the ESM portal, ESM for Enterprise Service Management. As in, if you see here, these are the various portals or the various departments that are attached to this organization, and each of them acts or functions as a separate service desk, but because each of them provide very specific services to their employees. For example, HR will be providing very specific say training modules, or information about the various schemes available, and whereas IT will be telling them about privacy and whole lot of things. So each department will have very specific information to provide to the users, and the users can very easily go and access the right service desk for their needs. So how does a user go and access the self-service portal, access the exact instance? We will now go to an end user login and see how this is available to them. So our end user is John, who is also going to be the hiring manager for this onboarding process. So John goes into his Service Desk Plus and he sees all these portals to which he is associated with. So he can raise all these raise service requests with all these portals. So for the scope of this masterclass, I'm just going to go to IT Help Desk, where he is going to raise a request about raising a remote onboarding person. He's going to hire a new person. So while we are here, I would like you to look at all the widgets that are available, or all that is made available to John right here. So here is an issue, here is service. So here, since we are looking at service management, this is where he is going to be raising his service request. All right. So soon enough, he can just go ahead and raise his service request and go to user management, click remote user onboarding. Now, this is an important aspect of today's conversation. So please have a look at it with some extra care, because we will be referring back to very specific things that I'm going to be talking about at this time. So this is a template that John is going to use to raise a hiring request. So when John raises this request, this template here has a drop down. So there's something called as the onboarding SLA. This is called as the sales manager SLA. So SLAs are nothing but service level agreements, which is a contract between the service provider and the service receiver, that the agreed upon services will be delivered within a specific period of time in the specified quality. So here, right here, as soon as he opens the template to raise the request, John is made aware of within how many days this request will be fulfilled. And we also give John the opportunity to select the SLA that he wants this thing to follow. All right. So this is the SLA. Now on the right top corner, please look at this thing called this the total cost. Now in a minute, I will show you what's going to happen to total cost right now. So we're just going down. All other fields are fairly straightforward. We're just going to go straight to the resources section. So here under the resources section, John perhaps knows that so there is only one section to be filled out here. So John goes and fills out permanent. So he's going to hire a permanent employee. So the minute he says permanent employee, section 1A opens. All right. And when he goes here and selects the regional sales manager under role, he sees that section 2 has opened, and not just that, the total cost has changed to reflect $148. Now, why has that happened? Because these assets are by default attached to any new hire who is a regional sales manager. All right. And so and then our hiring manager also has the option to select specific workstations, and according to the workstation selected, this your costs will also differ. Okay, here I'm going to select MacBook Air. Okay, yes, I have selected that. Okay, and it's changing here. And then I'm going to also select an USB adapter, and then of course the software too. Okay, so accordingly the total cost has changed. So we will see how you're going to add or show this in the template while we are going to create the template. Now here's a small idea on how this total cost was arrived at. Now, as John scrolls down, he also notices a list of tasks which he is unable to change. So, which means these tasks are by default attached to this template. At any point in time, if somebody is hired afresh, these are the tasks that have to happen by default. Okay. And then we go ahead and add the request, right? So soon after you add the request, what you see here is the request details page that is available to John. So at this point, John has the information that this is pending approval. And over and above that, there's no other information for him, because all the information will be sent out to him soon after the process begins. So now, just to recap, right here, he came into the home page and he saw that he needs to create a new service, and he just went ahead and created this. So I just want you to look at for a minute the other widgets here. There is announcements, assets, and popular solutions, and the request summary. There are some awaiting approval. There are some pending requests here. Okay, now let's see how you're going to customize this page for your end user. So naturally, we are going to go back into our admin configurations, where I'm going to show you how you are going to create that page for your end user. How we're going to create the template is hack 3, but for now we are only at hack 1 and hack 2. So here we are. By default, this goes to the facilities service desk. So facilities portal, now I've just changed it to the IT portal. So here there are two places where you can customize your requester portal. So customize button, requester homepage. Just go ahead and click this, and there you will see that the same homepage that we looked at for John is available right here. So here you can go ahead and add your widgets. All the widgets that can be added is available. You can add an HTML file, and you can also alter or modify the number of columns of display, and then you can play around with the colors and then publish it. All right. You can even change the themes. There's some misty and spearmint and all these things which you can play around with the look and feel of your screen for your end users. Now you can also, if you think some widgets are not necessary for your end user, you can simply delete them. Now let's go back and look at how you can add announcements. Right, so announcements are right here. This is the home page of the admin login. Under the home page, you merely need to go click add new, and usually announcements are about downtime, imminent or downtime, planned downtime, and then you can go ahead and provide the time frame within which this announcement will have to be displayed, this announcement time, and also email specific users, or share it as a public link as well. So this will immediately be displayed under the announcement widget that I showed you under the in the requester screen. So with these two hacks, we sort of saw how you can um, go ahead and create various instances. As many number of departments you have, you can create that many number of portals, and you can go ahead and set up those portals and access those instances and have specific self-service portals for each of those instances. And under the self-service portal, we also saw how you could list your solutions, you can track your requests, announcements and approvals, and change the layout and themes, and add and remove widgets. Now we are going into hack 3, which is the most important aspect of today's conversation, which is customizing your service catalog. Basically designing your service catalog, telling your employees what are the various templates or various services that are easily available and accessible to your users. So how are we going to do that, and what are the specific functionalities that we are going to be looking at? We are going to be looking at how you'll design your template and template layout for your technicians and requesters. You're going to be configuring fields, you're going to be configuring resource questions, and then very importantly, you're going to be configuring your workflow. So we will not waste any more time, and we will go straight into our hack number 3. So right here, I'm going to spend some time and show you the service catalog. So where is the service catalog? Under the admin configurations, of course, and there is a service catalog brick that talks about the various things that you can, configure for a service catalog. So even before you get into your service catalog, we have something called as the service categories. So what are service categories? As the very name indicates, we categorize the different types of services that are made available to your organization. So there are different types of software people want to have, but essentially all of them are software services. So you create a category for software. People want different types of communication devices, but essentially all these devices are communication, so you categorize them under communication. So likewise, you can have any number of service categories here. So under each service category, you can create the specific template for that service category. So that is available right here under service catalog. When you click service catalog, you see all these service categories that you have already created. Now, for this conversation, we are going to be looking at the user management category, which is the onboarding. So, how do you create a template from scratch? So, I'm just going to show you how easy it is to create a template from scratch, and then I'm going to show you a template that we have already created. So, you just click Add Service, a new canvas opens. You can add a representative icon from here. You can give your canvas a name, your template a name, and then we've given you all these untitled sections which you can name according to your however appropriate it would be for your needs and your organizational requirements. You could do that, and also pull fields from here on the left panel. So all these fields are already made available, and some of the fields are already here. You can either delete these fields or you can add new fields. And if you think all these are not the fields that you want to have a separate field for yourself, you can go ahead and create a field from new field type. So here there are so many field types. You just need to pull one in here, and then you will be able to add all the required information to the new add field. So what happens here is that I'll just very briefly talk about this information, which if you select will keep your customer data safe. Now, what is this? This is called holds personally identifiable information. Any information that can very clearly identify your user will be categorized as PII. It could be the person's name, it could be the person's surname, it could be the person's address, or their next of kin. Things like that, all that information which the user may not want to be available in the public domain will be deemed as personally identifiable information, and all of that information can be marked up right in the beginning. Right, even when you add this field, if you can mark it out, what happens is that when the user leaves the organization and exercises the right to be forgotten, all that you need to do is Service Desk Plus automatically anonymizes all that data. That data is not available anymore except for historical reasons and for audit purposes. Even then, the exact way of identifying the user is not available anymore. Okay, so not just that, I will also very briefly talk about these fields. These new fields are called as additional fields. Now, additional fields, you might have already heard of additional fields under incident management, where also we have what's called as the instant additional fields. So what you can do is that here, when you're creating an instant additional field, there is an option for you to mark it as common for both incident and service requests. So when you do that, this additional field is already available for you under your service templates as well. So now we will go back to our service catalog and our discussion on the service template. So we discussed the various sections for your service template. We also discussed um, how you can add new fields into the template, and we also looked at the resource section. So here I'm just going to show you a fully created template. So this is a template that we have created for this masterclass to show you how beautiful finally the template looks. Now this was the template, if you remember, that John used to raise a service request for a new hire. So this was the thing, and right here we've also very nicely categorized the information. Each section has been given a name, and also we've also given it colors. So how do you want, if you want to jazz it up a little, just click this section here and then go to customization, and the colors are available. You can justify or align the label placement and play around with the background colors as well. All right. So this is for the look and feel of it. Now, very interestingly, we are going to be looking at what's called as the resource info. So if you remember, when John loaded the form, when just John opened the form, he saw only section 1. Soon after, he pulled out one of these choices, which is permanent. Section 1A became available. And similarly, when he selected a certain role, the other section, which is section 2, became available with very specific assets already selected by default. And then we also have here what is called as cost details. And this selection is important for the template to display the cost details on the right top corner. If you remember, I kept drawing your attention to that place where soon after I select an asset, accordingly the cost of the service request was getting modified. So for that to happen, you will have to select cost details right here. Now, as we go down, there are two very interesting things to watch here, which is called as the support groups and user groups. Now, support groups are groups of support personnel, groups of technicians who have been grouped for specific requirements, for specifically if they are specific to a compliance team, if they are specific to cyber security, these people are grouped together and they're called support group. And when this support group is associated to a certain template, only that support group will be able to look at that template. So similarly, user groups are also people are regular users or are requesters to whom this template is associated, meaning only these users will be able to look at the template. So now let us move on to the next aspect of the service template, which is the workflow. So what is the workflow? As the name indicates, it's the flow of work. What happens soon after a service request is raised? So does it go into open or does it get assigned? So when it gets assigned, what happens? Who gets informed? Or for it to be assigned, what is the criteria, and can you assign it automatically? So for that, we have what is called as the service life cycle. Now, service life cycle is a very interesting feature that helps you control the flow of your request, the flow of or the sequence of tasks, or what needs to happen um, soon after the request has been raised. So once the request is raised, it moves into open, and from open it moves to assign. So what happens is that from open to assign, there is what we call as a transition. So a transition is essentially a place where you can define what needs to happen if the request were to move into assign. So before it moves into assign, what are the things that should be fulfilled? For example, I will make sure that this ticket is even available for very specific roles only. And then while this request is in that stage, what are the things that need to be filled out? For example, should it have mandatory fields filled out? Should it, if it were to fulfill certain criteria, it will have to be assigned to a certain technician. And then if it is assigned to a certain technician, that is after it is assigned or after it moves to this technician, I want to send out certain notifications to these very specific stakeholders. Now, all this can be very easily arranged or very easily manipulated and very easily controlled. The entire process can be controlled along with stage-wise specific tasks, also um, queued through the life cycle. All right. So much for the life cycle. Now, what is the next aspect of the workflow? So as we all know, once the service request comes in and people have started raising the request, and the request has moved from assigning, right? It has been already assigned. What happens to it next? One of the important aspects that one of the important stages that a service request has to follow is, even after assignment, is approvals. So Service Desk Plus offers you the opportunity to configure 5 stages of approval, and each stage you can have specific users approving. You can also have role based approvals right here. So after the approvals are done, you also have what is called as the SLA. So we already discussed what an SLA is very briefly. So if you see that there are SLAs here, so these are the SLAs that were available under the drop down button soon after John raised the service request. If you remember, soon after he opened the template, one of the first things on the left top corner was the drop down for the SLA. Now, where do you associate and assign those SLAs? It is right here. So, how do you add a new SLA? Click Add New SLA, and it is just as it's as straightforward as it can get. Right? You give it a name, and then an SLA is what is an SLA? It is a contract um, that ensures that the service delivery is met at the agreed upon time. So when that does not happen, when your service when your SLA is approaching a breach, that is very soon, in a day or two, they are going to be breaching this particular service requests SLA. What happens? You can enable an escalation. So the escalation is not merely a notification, but also with it, what you have is four actions that you can do. You can physically place the request in a group or assign it to a technician, select a priority, and also select level. So now all these things actually hasten up your service level agreement. Okay. And now one more thing you can also assign is an OLA, which is the operational level agreement, which is nothing but many OLAs together contribute to one SLA. So for one SLA to be met, you will probably need the help of several groups to be working together to fulfill that one SLA. So now this is done. Let's move to the next aspect of the workflow, which is the tasks. So if you remember, the tasks that John saw under the template were all were the tasks that he could not delete, right? So because all these tasks are by default associated to this template, so soon after a hiring request is raised, these tasks will have to be triggered. Sometimes these tasks are triggered manually, and at other times these tasks are triggered automatically. All right. So these are the various tasks. I want to talk about two important aspects of tasks here. One is defining the dependencies. Dependencies is a way in which you can define the sequence in which these tasks are performed. So the overall task or the overall goal of this entire exercise is remote user onboarding. So for remote user onboarding to happen, all these major tasks will have to be completed. But for these tasks to be completed, these smaller tasks will have to be completed. And for these tasks to be completed, this subtask or the child task will have to be completed. So in turn, in other words, you have defined a dependency, right? You've defined the sequence in which these tasks will have to be completed so that the overall service request can be completed. Now, one other feature that I wanted to discuss about is associating request properties to these tasks. Now, tasks are such that these tasks can be, assigned to specific technicians who may or may not have access to the entire request, depending on their permission levels, right? So, but however, to complete a task, the technician may require information of information about a specific field in the request. So then, in that case, we give you the opportunity we give you the option to associate specific request properties to your task. So this is about your task. One more thing we can talk about task is about marking and assigning these tasks. Assigning a task means the technician is already made aware of the task that is at hand, but marking a task basically helps you plan the whole process better, because what happens is that these tasks are only marked for certain technicians, but they are assigned only when certain other tasks of the service request are done, and that is when it even gets assigned. Okay. So as we already discussed, we can trigger these tasks manually or also automatically. So one final feature about that has to be discussed in this hack is that field and form rules, the most one of the most interesting and beautiful of the features for your service catalog. So if you remember, we were discussing while we were discussing the resource questions, you noticed that soon after John selected permanent employee, certain requests, section 1A became available. And similarly, when he checked out regional sales manager, a few other fields started, section 2 was available, was made available, and certain fields were already set right here. So, how did we make that happen? So here let's look at permanent employee. How did we enable that? So that happened because we went ahead and created a new rule and said when should that rule be executed. That rule has to field and form rules are executed at three stages. That is when the form is loaded, that is at the time you access the form, that is form load, and when you change a field, and when you submit a form. So for the scope of this discussion, I'm just going to keep field change because you saw what we saw here was soon after you selected the category of hire to be permanent, what we did is that we showed the resource section 1A. Now here is something else. You can also execute a script to show whatever it is that you want to show in your form. So similarly, I'm just going to show you another rule here, which is the regional sales manager. What happened when you selected the regional sales manager? Here, right here, you saw that you were, the minute you selected this resource, this role, this resource showed up and all these fields were set by default. Okay. So one other information I wanted to give you before we wrap up this hack is that um, how do you show the images and the cost of each of these resources that we displayed right here? Okay, so how do we add a resource information? So here we're just going to click add resource. Now all these are the questions that you have either already added or they're already present, which you added for a different template is made available here. So if you do not want to use these questions, you can go ahead and click a new question, add a checkbox or radio and write here. And as we already discussed, you have the same PII here. And here you can enable cost, and that's how the cost information is shown. And you can enable image, and that's how you show an image right next to your resource. So with this, we come to the end of this hack, and let's move on and look at the other hacks. Okay, in between, if you do have any questions, feel free to add your questions right into our chat box. We will be looking at the questions soon enough. Okay, so now we will be looking at the other two hacks are being able to create a new, creating a useful knowledge base, and also find ways to create, publish, and manage these solutions, and then also find a way to integrate with other Manage Engine products and how they make it easy for us. And then we will go ahead and recap. So let's go ahead and look at our screen, our application again. Um, so right here, we're going to look at how you're going to add information or add all this knowledge into your solutions module. So solutions module is right here. Go ahead and click add new, and you will, here you have the add new, and provide the appropriate topic, provide your keywords so that your users are able to search the solutions properly and find this answers, and very importantly select the link so that it can be published in your self-service portal so that your end users even have access to it. So you can also make this thing available to specific users. Now this is one way of you manually adding solutions to your manually adding to your knowledge base. One other way to add your automatically add the solutions to the knowledge base soon after resolution is available right from your request details page. So right here, I'm just going to go. Okay, I'm just going to open a request, right? So here under the resolution tab, you will go ahead and add your resolution. So we have resolved this service request. So once I've done that, I just need to click save and add to solutions for this resolution to be immediately made available under solutions. So under solutions, you can also create a review dates and also assign someone to review it so that all the solutions are up to date. So finally, we will I wanted to have a word about the integrations that make it easy um, for your service desk, and that is right here. As soon after you okay, I'm just going to discard all these changes. Soon after you integrate with other management other manage engine products, you will be able to do very specific tasks and activities right from the right from your request details page. So right here under custom actions, you see that you can install and uninstall software, you can create a Jira ticket. So these are third party devices, and all of these can be very easily integrated, and all these tasks can be done from right within the within your within Service Desk Plus. So one other place where this information or this integration comes handy is of course your template actions. And where are these template actions available? They are available under your template, of course. So template right here under the workflow button, if you see, so I'm just going to show you the various template actions that are possible if you were to integrate Service Desk Plus with other Manage Engine products. So you can add a group if you've integrated with AD Manager Plus. You can, if you're integrated with an MDM, that is Mobile Device Manager, you can assign devices and many other template actions which are so easily possible and saving you good time and increasing your efficiency if you were to um, integrate with other Manage Engine devices. So with this, we actually come to the end of the masterclass, or we come to the end of today's discussion on the various hacks. So we will have a very quick recap on all the hacks that we discussed. I'm just merely going to show you the screen, and then we will open the floor to your questions. We saw how to define specific portals for specific users. We built a detailed self-service portal. We customized our catalog. We saw how to make a knowledge base, and we also looked at how integration with other Manage Engine products has been very useful. So this actually brings us to the end of this episode of the masterclass. I hope you all had a very good time. Thank you for being such a delightful audience, and you've helped us. You've asked us so many questions, and we were very happy answering them for you. So if you need more information, all the information is available right here. I've given you the links to where you can look up for more information. If you do have more questions, feel free to write to us. We will be happy to help you with your questions. And at any point in time, you need some free product training and consultation, please go ahead and book your slot at the link shown here. And as we come to the end of this session, I would personally request each one of you to leave us a word of advice, or if there is any suggestions that you would like to give us so that we can do this better. We could perhaps incorporate other ways of creating user educative materials. We would be very happy to hear from you. There will be a feedback form displayed to you soon after you exit the session. please stay back and fill out that form, very short form for us, so that we have an idea about how we can bring better content to you. So until next time, thank you. This is Hannah signing off on behalf of Service Desk Plus. Thank you.